Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe.
Who should win the 2021 Royal Rumbles? I am Luke Owen, and I'm joined by the hardest working person in all of sports infotainment, Denise Salcedo. Denise, how's it going?
It's going pretty well. Glad to be back here once again. How are you?
Peyton Royce's. I'm very well, thank you. Peyton Royce's new best friend.
I know. Oh my God. I was so happy when I got that interview. It was so much fun. I mean, it was like 13 minutes long because I only get like 15 minutes, but still, it's like, hey, I get what I can get and we'll make it work. So it's really fun to chat with her.
Amazing. Yeah, it's so cool. Go check that out over on Denise's channel. Go check her out on Twitter as well. Denise, that is, not Peyton Royce, although you're probably already checking out Peyton Royce. Sorry, I'm going to rephrase that. Checking out Peyton Royce's Twitter, not checking out Peyton Royce on Twitter. Phrasing.
Yeah, your phrasing came off like you're checking out Peyton Royce because she's like gorgeous and whatnot, which I'm sure people already are, but that's exactly how it came out. But check out Peyton. Wait, now I'm already confused. Let's move on from this. I have an interview with Peyton Royce. You can check it out on my YouTube channel.
Oh my God.
That's what Luke wanted to say.
This is what happens when I record before 7 a.m. and I haven't had a cup of tea yet. Anyway, right, so we're going to talk about the 2021 Royal Rumble. It is this weekend. It is, for me, it's the most exciting time of the year to be a wrestling fan. Like, WrestleMania, obviously, is always exciting because it's WrestleMania, but this is the pay-per-view I'm always the most excited for every single year.
It's the road to WrestleMania officially, and it is the most exciting pay-per-view of the year. I'm excited to watch. You know, it's going to be very different because I'm not having my normal Royal Rumble party that I normally do, but it's still going to be a good time to, you know, just chill and watch the show and see who's actually going to win, because I know we talked briefly about this last week that, hey, we don't have a clear-cut winner for this year's Royal Rumble, so it's really going to be a mystery.
It is, yeah. As we were saying last week, this is the first Rumble I can think of in quite a while where it's like, we did our prediction show on Wednesday, and I still don't really know. Like, I've heard now multiple arguments from multiple people on who's going to win the Rumbles, and I still don't know. Like, I was filling out my Wrestle League form, and I was like, I've written down Edge to win the men's and Flair to win the women's, but I'm unconvinced by both of those.
Wait, you think Charlotte Flair will win the women's again?
There's a feeling in the back of my mind, like my feeling is it's either her or Alexa Bliss. Like, those are the two names that are jumping out to me as potential winners.
Oh, we're totally on opposite, because mine was Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair. And if not them, I would go with Bayley.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people in our comments were saying that Rhea was like surely destined to win.
If she were to win, like, it would just I feel like it would give the wrestling community so much hope that they're actually giving it to somebody that's career could like change overnight with this win. And I feel like we don't always get that.
And that's kind of what I'm really loving about this year's Rumble. Like you said, that you got Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley, which a few people have got, but I've got Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. Adam was on the stream saying that he is convinced that Ronda Rousey is winning this year's Royal Rumble.
So we're all so different. How did this happen?
I don't know. It's either a combination of, it's either WWE have done a great job of making us think that it could be anyone, or they've done such a poor job of making anyone look credible that literally anyone could win it at this point.
I think it might be the second option. Like, if we're just being realistic, it might be the second option, because if you think about it, yours are like people that you think that they would select to win, versus mine are people that I would like to win so that their career could get started. And then Adam's is somebody that's essentially already made.
Yeah, and I've been trying to think of like what WrestleMania matches could you do, and like, you know, there was that WrestleVotes report that it's like Edge versus The Fiend was a potential match that could happen at Mania, maybe a mixed tag, so like Fiend and Bliss versus Edge and Beth Phoenix, or it could be they might do Edge versus Randy Orton, which they've also been talking about to, like, you know, to finish off this year's WrestleMania, finish off that trilogy of matches over the title. But there's also, you know, what's Roman gonna do? Flair, I was thinking like, oh man, Flair Asuka seems like that's pretty much set, but that doesn't feel like that's going anywhere at the moment. Bliss feels like this anomaly that has to be doing something around the title. And then there's also the Lacey Evans thing. And someone like, it was posed on the prediction show that a potential WrestleMania match could be Ric Flair and Lacey Evans versus Charlotte Flair and Andrade.
No, I don't think I would want that. Like, I hate to be like, a hater, but I'm not interested in that. Like, if you're going to do a mixed tag match, I don't necessarily want it to be the fallout from something that happened at the Royal Rumble. You get it? Like, I want the Royal Rumble to lead to a hot singles match, not a mixed tag match, because I've seen mixed tag matches more as something that you get on the pre-show or at the top of the card, a filler match, whatever. Not necessarily, I'm not thinking main event status here with the mixed tag team match.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of potentials that could happen here. But let's look at I want to point out now, and it's been said on this show, you and Sean say this a lot on the Fightful post Raw review. Betting odds don't mean much. Like they pretty much mean diddly did.
I don't even look at those. When people talk about that, I'm like, you guys look at that? I don't even look at those.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of like, that's where I'm gathering my data from today. But I do want to put my cards on the table here and be like, this doesn't mean a lot. This is just what the betting numbers are saying at the moment. But the betting numbers don't mean anything until like an hour before the show, because that's when the smart money comes in. And that's when like the people who are backstage who are putting bets on these things, that's when that is probably when the betting odds will tell us anything that we need to know. But the current favorite to win the Royal Rumble, and this is based on the betting odds, this is based on the feedback that we've had on our channel as well, is that Daniel Bryan is the current favorite to win the men's Royal Rumble, followed by Edge, Brock Lesnar, Keith Lee, and Big E. Now, Lesnar is one that is in there that's come off the back of the Goldberg return, because Goldberg came back to face Drew McIntyre, and there are now people who are thinking that Goldberg's going to win the title at the Royal Rumble. Brock Lesnar wins the Royal Rumble, and we do Goldberg-Lesnar at WrestleMania over the title again.
No, I don't think so. I don't think Goldberg's winning the bout. I think if they could go that route with Brock Lesnar if let's just say Brock Lesnar were to come back and win the Rumble, why can't they do a rematch with him and Drew McIntyre?
Exactly.
Yeah, I can see it going that direction. That direction would also make much sense to me. And then in terms of who were the other options? What did you just say? Biggie or
we got Bryan, Edge, Keith Lee, and Big E.
Keith Lee and Big E. I feel like the ship. I just don't feel like Vince is necessarily all that crazy about them to give them this. So that's why I'm kind of have them out here. Daniel Bryan, I think that he's just like the one that he's like the safe choice. And then, who am I missing? I'm missing somebody.
And there was Brock Lesnar as well, which we've already talked
about.
We
already talked about that.
I agree with you. The Keith Lee, I feel like is an outside choice at the moment. I just don't think he's got zero momentum behind him to lead him into a Royal Rumble victory. It's surprising actually that AJ is not part of that list, considering that the story that they've been telling with AJ on Raw is that he's got this he's 12-1 or whatever it is since he came to Raw, and he's on this winning streak. But yet he's one of those guys that's going into the Rumble that not many people are talking about as a potential winner.
Well, I still have my prediction that I don't know, but I feel like we might be seeing AJ Styles Triple H. That's still my prediction into what is actually going to be happening with AJ Styles. So I do see it going that direction for him, but who knows?
That'd be great. AJ Triple H, I think it'd be an amazing match.
And now that we know there's actually going to be people, this is a possibility. Because if there wasn't any people, I was Triple H ain't going to be wasting a good WrestleMania entrance on no people in there, but the Thunderdome people.
I think Triple H is probably mad that he had to have a match inside the Thunderdome in front of no fans. And
it was such a last-minute thing.
I know, he had to wrestle in a t-shirt because he was not ready.
And then also have such a silly ending. Oh, whatever. What can you do?
So I really like Daniel Bryan to win, just because it's Daniel Bryan, and I think Sean said this to you on one of your shows recently that Daniel Bryan would be a good win, but Daniel Bryan was the best win in 2015. That was the time for Daniel Bryan to win. I don't think in 2021 now is the time for him to win. It almost feels like he kind of said with Big E. I feel Keith Lee rather, because Keith Lee had that momentum coming in, beating Randy Orton, but now that ship has sailed and he's flattened out. And I feel like Daniel Bryan's in a similar position now, where 2015 he was at the top of the mountain, but now I feel like he is at a level of popularity, but is not that same level that it once was.
I feel like now people would still be happy just because he has the respect from the fans. And that's what it is. For me, if Daniel Bryan were to win, I don't think I'd pop exactly like I did last year for Drew McIntyre, but I would be happy because he's somebody that's respected, and it would be such a fun accomplishment for him to have under his belt. Like, hey, Daniel Bryan was a Royal Rumble winner. You know, in a couple of years from now, looking back, you can say that Daniel Bryan was a Royal Rumble winner. Now, would he necessarily, for me, be like the most surprising, hottest option? Probably not. But in terms of, yeah, I like him enough to where I'll cheer, I'll clap, and I'll be satisfied.
Yeah, I kind of got the same thing with Big E as well. Like, it'd be awesome if Big E won the Rumble because, like, it's something new, it's something fresh, and it's something different. So, like, I'd be like really enthused by Big E winning the Rumble. I think actually, like, of the 5 that are listed there, Big E is probably the one, like outside of Keith Lee, but as I said, I don't think Keith Lee's got enough momentum to get to that point. But Big E feels like he does. Big E is the guy that I'd be like, oh man, yeah, I'm so into him winning the Rumble and going on to face Roman at Mania.
I would say that, but the problem is I don't think he's been booked strong enough to actually, I still feel like he doesn't have the momentum. Like, right, going into the Rumble, I don't feel like he has the momentum that is needed in terms of they just haven't been, I don't think they've been booking him all that strong lately. Like, he's just, for me, I think that if he was going to be a winner for the Royal Rumble, he would be booked a lot better. And there's still not enough hype for me to necessarily get behind it. But if he did win, that'd be awesome because, again, I prefer to see somebody that hasn't, gotten their proper opportunity just yet to actually, become champion someday.
Yeah, I think it may just be the fact that he wore a Ghostbusters cardigan on SmackDown that makes me want to see him win the Rumble now.
The Ghostbusters cardigan.
Oh my God, it was a thing of beauty. Absolutely. It was wonderful.
I've never seen Ghostbusters.
What? Denise Salcedo, you've never seen. I mean, I don't know why I'm surprised. Like, a lot of people haven't seen Ghostbusters. But
no.
You know it's my favorite film ever, right?
Oh, is that really your favorite movie?
It's my favorite movie of all time.
Okay, I'm embedding this into my memory just in case we're ever tag team partners again in Quizzlemania. I'm going to remember that your favorite movie is Ghostbusters.
I don't have many things like on my phone, but my phone case is Ghostbusters.
Oh, really? I didn't even know. I was like, I don't even know who those guys are.
It's my favorite film of all time. So the other thing to mention on the Men's Royal Rumble before we move on, WrestleVotes did put out a tweet recently that said, sorry for the lack of details here, but noteworthy, in my opinion. Had a brief conversation earlier with the source regarding the Men's Royal Rumble match. They said, quote, there's a finish that scares the death out of me, and it's legitimately getting heavy consideration. Yikes. Now, I've got a prediction of what this finish is, which I revealed on the prediction show. Alexa Bliss wins the Men's Royal Rumble. That's my big, bold prediction.
You think they would do that, though?
Yeah.
In terms of, because then it would sort of defeat the purpose. Oh, you mean she would win it on behalf of the Fiend or for herself?
I think, well, who knows? Like, I think at this point, WWE are just like, they're just doing a lot of things like throwing things at the wall, whether it's eye for an eye, whether it's throwing people off the roof and they climb the corporate ladder, whether it's setting the Fiend on fire. Like, they're trying to do things that make people talk. And in this period of time where you haven't got fans in the building, you can just do these wild and wacky things like Alexa Bliss appearing on a rocking horse or Alexa Bliss changing outfits mid-match. So, yeah, just have her win the Men's Royal Rumble. Like, I don't think it doesn't particularly matter. So
I think it defeats the purpose of the Women's Royal Rumble. Why can't she do the same thing on the Women's Rumble?
Well, what if she wins both of them? She's the first person to ever win both Royal Rumble matches.
I wouldn't like that.
I'd hate it too. As the quote says there, it would scare the death out of me. I'd hate it. I'd hate it so much. But I've just got this feeling. I keep going to like sleep at night thinking like, Alexa Bliss. What if Alexa Bliss wins the wins both Royal Rumbles?
But you think about this before you go to bed at night. Who's gonna win the Royal Rumble?
It's always on my mind.
I was gonna say that's definitely not what my last thought before going to bed. That's definitely like the furthest thing from my mind. But no, I don't think I'd be necessary.
Last thing on your mind.
The last thing on my mind is okay. So the last thing that I usually think about is what I have to what time I have to wake up the next day so that I have it in my head. Denise, you need to wake up at this time because this is what's happening tomorrow. And if you're not up at this time, you're going to miss it and you're going to look really bad. I have to do like an internal clock. Like, hey, Denise, if you got to wake up at 8, like you got to be up at 8. I got to prepare myself mentally ahead of time or else I won't wake up.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
I'll sleep till 2.
Sorry, but I interrupted you.
Oh no, what else was I saying? Did I have a point?
You were talking about Alexa Bliss winning the men's Royal Rumbles. And
oh yeah, no, I wouldn't be crazy about it. I wouldn't. I feel like if she's gonna win a Rumble, it's got to be the women's Rumble because that's just the whole purpose of it. That's why it's there.
Yeah, and like she has got, I would argue, probably the most momentum out of anyone like at the moment because she's involved in the main event storyline on Raw with Randy Orton and The Fiend. She's pinned the Raw Women's Champion. Not that that particularly matters much either because Asuka, everyone's pinning Asuka at the moment. It's like the Riot Squad basically pinned Asuka on SmackDown. But like she's getting the most views on YouTube. Everyone's really talking about her character, which makes me think that she is kind of like a hot favorite to win the Women's Royal Rumble at the very least.
Do you think there's a way, like with their production thing, like the whatever you want to call it that they're doing with Alexa Bliss? Do you think there's a way that they can do it where she kind of wins it on behalf of the Fiend?
Oh, dude,
it's like they kind of flip back and forth. I don't know.
Like you could have a spot. You could have the spot where she eliminates Randy Orton, and then she's standing in the ring, and you're like, "Oh my god, Alexa Bliss just wins the Royal Rumble." And then they do like the blip blip blip,
and then it's the Fiend,
and then the Fiend is standing there, yeah.
And it just kind of like goes in and out, where it's like the Fiend, but it's Alexa, but it's Fiend, and you're not really too sure, and it's up to the person to like make the conclusion.
Exactly. Yes, you could have like Todd Phillips or Michael Cole being like, "Who's won the Royal Rumble?" You'll have to tune in to watch Raw to find out.
But that's not terrifying, though. In terms of something being terrifying, wouldn't it have to be like someone being burned alive, someone being dead, someone coming back to life?
Yeah, I suppose it depends on your definition of that quote of like a finish that scares the death out of me. Is that scares the death out of me as a wrestling fan that I don't want to see the person winning the Royal Rumble, or it scares the death out of me as like, oh, it's actually quite scary and it's quite a terrifying prospect.
Yeah, I see that more as something scary, not like something that would terrify me. More as like, oh, okay, if I see, I don't know, someone get killed at the end of the Rumble, now that's terrifying. I don't know. I mean, that quote can be misconstrued in many different ways.
Let's talk about the women's then. Bianca Belair is still the favorite to win the Rumble, followed by Alexa Bliss, who's had huge gains as of late because she's, in the main event scene of Raw. Then it's Charlotte Flair, Rhea Ripley, and Ronda Rousey. Flair had an interesting quote about Ronda Rousey recently, which I really liked, where she was asked, do WWE need Ronda Rousey? And she said, need is a very strong word. Do I think Ronda adds to the division? 100%. But need? No. We have an incredible list of already established stars and ones that are on the rise. So need is a strong word, but I do think she brings a lot to the table, 100%.
I think need, yes, in terms of mainstream attention, 100%. Ronda just brings that. Need as in terms of quality, no, because they do have the women. So I feel like you could break it down even much more than that, like, yes, mainstream wise, she would bring so much attention to the women's division, to the company, etc., like she did when she was there. But that doesn't mean that, but having her there necessarily doesn't mean the matches are going to improve. Like that's all within the women that they already have.
Yeah, I agree. And Rousey added on Twitter when the betting odds did come out that she was, one of the favorites to win. She said, quote, best way to make a profit since Wall Street Bets did that stuff with GameStop that I don't understand. Which is one of the few things that Ronda Rousey has posted on Twitter that made me laugh.
I agree with Ronda Rousey. I've been seeing everybody talk about it. I'm like, my money ain't involved, so I'm out. I have no interest. I don't even know what you guys are talking about. Whatever. I don't understand that kind of stuff. I'm out. I agree with Ronda.
I didn't get it at all, and then I read something yesterday that made me understand it. I'm like, oh, cool, I get it now. But I saw a tweet before we started recording this that really made me laugh. That was like, wow, January's been a great month for dudes that love explaining things. Like, it really has. People love explaining this.
That's true. But you know what? I don't mind it. Like if someone, I don't mind being explained something. Like remember we had that whole argument, or not whole argument, but this whole discussion about the education system in the UK and the US, and we're so confused. And then someone explained it to us. And then even the Twitch thing, somebody explained that to me too. And it actually really does help. But I'm just not interested in like this stock money stuff. Because again, none of my money's on the line that I know of. I'm like, I don't know. Definitely not.
Lastly, before we jump into the mailbag, brief discussion on the AEW NXT ratings for last night. Very close last night. AEW drew 734,000 viewers, whereas NXT did 720,000 viewers. There's only 14,000 differences. That's a huge 14.1% drop in AEW viewership, whereas NXT was up 9%. The biggest competition came from the NBA game. The LA Lakers and the Philadelphia 76ers, I believe. But this is from the Wrestling Observer. TNT had technical issues near the beginning of last night's Dynamite on some streaming platforms. Whether or not that significantly contributed to the show's decline in the ratings from last week remains to be seen. Yeah, so I believe someone messaged us saying that their feed cut out as soon as Eddie Kingston finished his entrance and then came back on when Butcher and Blade were dragging out Jake the Snake Roberts, which means they missed the entire match, which is why AEW put it up onto their channel for free. They put the whole thing up on YouTube. But yeah, what did you make of both shows?
Okay, so like first of all, I'm glad that didn't happen to me because I watch on Sling. I watch both AEW and NXT at the exact same time, like window to window. So like if one thing breaks down, I will be stressed as hell because it's just very stressful. But okay, I'm very curious what led to that for AEW. Could it have been that I don't know if that error in, the blackout screen or whatever was enough to say for people to necessarily be like, all right, I'm out, I'm not coming back. Because usually if you're going to watch something, you're going to watch it. If I can't get into a stream or my stream's not working, I'll retry and I'll retry and I'll retry until it eventually does. It doesn't keep people away from watching something. I know that last week's show, people did not like that AEW Dynamite episode. This week's show, but I don't know if that was the reason though. Would that have been the reason? Like, hey, last week's show wasn't that great, so we're not going to tune in this week?
It could be, but this was a packed old show. Particularly that main event of, the Good Brothers and the Bucks versus Dark Order. I feel like that would have had some semblance of like pull into this. I've got to think it's the streaming thing of people like, particularly if you've got another option, particularly if you're like trying something and it's not working, just like, cool, I'll switch over to NXT. Maybe I'll switch back to Dynamite, but that initial switch over is going to affect the overall rating across the 2 hours.
I don't know. I mean, that probably seems like the most definitive answer. I think I'm thinking more in terms of like what I would do. What I would do is I would keep trying. I'm going to watch the dang show. If I've decided I'm watching this, I'm sticking to it. But in terms of NXT, like I was surprised at how well they closed that gap this week because I didn't really feel like I don't know. I didn't really feel like there was anything that necessarily was like, oh my God, I got to tune in to watch this. I mean, I could be wrong, but for me, there wasn't anything where I was like, oh my God, I got to make sure to watch NXT because this and that. I mean, it's been a great show each and every single week. It's been getting better and better, and they've been doing a lot more with it. But we've been like that so many times. Like there's so many times where I'm talking about AEW and NXT and I'm saying like, oh, NXT is a good show. And people are like, I didn't watch NXT. And I'm like, all right, well, you didn't watch it. So I can't do nothing about that. So it is interesting to me when I saw that gap, I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, it's the closest that it's been in quite some time. And I think that's a huge win for NXT. Huge win for them, I would say.
They're doing something right.
Yeah, they are doing something right at the moment. Whereas maybe AEW, maybe it's catering to the wrong market. Maybe it's like the Impact AEW thing may be great to us hardcore fans, but maybe to a casual audience it doesn't translate.
You know what I think it might be for NXT right now? I think the Finn Kyle O'Reilly Undisputed Era, Danny Burch, Tony Lorcan situation. I think all of that has been really hot on the show, and then maybe also the fact that with this Dusty Rhodes tag team tournament with both the men's and the women's, it's like you go in and you're going to see new faces or faces that you don't get to see very often. So that might be maybe something that people are like, all right, I want to see these new people. Like even with MSK, it could be like, oh, okay, I've never seen MSK. Let me go in and watch MSK. I don't know, but that's just my theory.
It could just be that people really like a tournament. People like, and I'm a guy that loves a tournament. So if I see like, the AEW have announced their women's tournament, they've only announced one match for it so far, but I'm actually like, I want to know who else is in the brackets. And I'm kind of interested to see that. So maybe it is just a case of they're doing two tournaments at the same time and people are into both tournaments. Could be, or it could be the streaming thing. Who knows? So either way, I think it's a great win for NXT this week. Right. let's dive into the mailbag. If you want to submit a question to the mailbag, all you got to do is become one of our awesome pledge hammers over at patreon.com/WrestleTalk and submit a question to the community tab labeled mailbag. Do label it mailbag, I will miss it. And also do not email it to me. I'm bad at my job. Here we go. Callum is up first. And as always, as Callum points out, it's a question about friends. Were Ross and Rachel on a break or not? I think they were broken up and Rachel overreacted. I don't know if that's an unpopular opinion.
It's an unpopular opinion. Like, I get it, the whole we were on a break, but they weren't necessarily on a break. Like, there's a break and then there's a break. I don't think they were on a break. I think what Ross did was wrong.
Ross was wrong. Like, he should not have slept with the coffee girl.
She wasn't even that cute. I'm just salty about it.
I've never been on a break. Like, if a relationship that I've been in has ended, it has just ended. Like, it's never been like, I think we need to spend some time apart.
You've never broken up for like 5 minutes and then got back together afterwards?
No, but it's usually just been like, that's it, then that's it. And we're just moving on.
Me and my fiance used to break up like every day. Every day I'd be like, I'm sick of you. We're over. And that's it. Okay. And if he went off and, went to go find the copy girl, I'd be dang pissed because, yeah, we were broken up, but we weren't broken up.
Yeah.
You get me?
Absolutely. I totally get it. And like, I think that Ross was in the wrong. He should not have slept with the copy girl. He didn't need to go and do that. And he knew that he was wrong as well. Like, that is key to it because he was like trying to hide her behind the door when Rachel came over. He knew that he was in the wrong, which is why Ross is the worst character on Friends.
But I still love Ross, though. He's still funny because do you remember when she writes him the letter and he doesn't read it and she asks him a question and then like he's trying to read it and then he's like, and then he ends up snapping.
Did not.
Doesn't she like pat him in the head or pat him on the shoulder? She goes, "Oh, you did, sir." I forgot what she says, but he like loses it in that moment. It's just, I like when Ross loses his cool. Like, he just loses it all the time. I feel that's very human.
Lawrence, thank you very much for your you submitted like a really, really great message with some fantasy booking in there, which I have passed on to Adam. Can't read out the whole thing because it was 13 paragraphs long, but thank you very much for your the work that went into it. As I said, pass it on to Adam. He's the person who will appreciate it the most. But Lawrence did have a question about this because it was about sort of like the treatment of Asuka in some of this. Like, there's the moment in the Asuka Bliss match where, like, because you want to do is the showmanship thing. She's holding on to Asuka in the Sister Abigail, and Lawrence timed it. It was 8 seconds, which like doesn't make Asuka look particularly good because she's just sat there in this hold for nearly 10 seconds while Alexa Bliss looks at a camera. And he was just talking about like how it doesn't make Asuka look particularly great. But the question he had was, what power do WWE wrestlers have other than just walking out? Why don't more people walk out? What do you guys think the morale is like in the locker room? And what can WWE wrestlers do? What can WWE wrestlers who don't have Roman's power do to fix things?
Well, I mean, I feel like we've seen different situations. You either take it, you don't do the work. I mean, you remember the whole Sasha Banks story where she was like, MIA for some time. There's the Aleister Black thing. He's MIA. I mean, I just think it really depends on how you handle things. I don't know if there's a perfect answer for that.
And if someone like you're Asuka, there may just be like, there is a bigger picture that we don't know. We're not seeing the bigger picture, that Asuka is seeing the bigger picture. And she's actually, she doesn't mind the storyline she's doing with Alexa Bliss here. We heard from Ricochet, like Ricochet's quite happy. Reportedly, he's said himself, I'm very happy in WWE, even though we as fans know that there is so much more than could be done with Ricochet. Someone like Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins were like quite famous for just being happy to be there. Like, since they were kids, their dream was to be in WWE. So they're now in WWE. Like, Zack Ryder got to win the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania. It doesn't matter a jot that he lost it the next night on Raw. To him, he achieved his dream of winning the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania and posing backstage with Razor Ramon. Like, to him, he accomplished it. But to us fans, we're like, well, we want more from Zack. But there are some people who are just, quote, happy to be there.
Well, not only that, too, I think people also have different mentalities. Like, there's people that want more of a creative input, more that, they want more of a say. And then there's people that are like, all right, I may not have the creative input, but I'm getting paid really nicely. And I just think that people all make their own decisions. At the end of the day, some people aren't going to be, even if you're getting all the money in the world, you might not be creatively fulfilled. So then you seek elsewhere. Like I remember when I was listening to the John Moxley interview that he did with Jericho, and I think he said somewhere in there that they gave him I think it was a new offer, and he didn't even open the envelope because he didn't want to know how much money, or he didn't care. He just wanted to get out. And so that to me tells me that, you know, not everybody necessarily just goes and stays for the money. At some point, you just want to actually be fulfilled with what you're doing. So it just really depends on the person.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, Galanderson have said, you know, multiple times that they signed those new contracts the same time that AJ did. You know, the original plan was supposed to be Galanderson and AJ Styles were to go into debut on the first episode of Dynamite. Like that was the plan that they had. But WWE gave them a huge offer to stay. And, you know, they made the decision to stay because they got such a great, you know, money offer, and it was all about looking after their families. And they then regretted that decision because they then spent the next couple of years very unhappy in the company until they got released. So it is a case of, sort of like the John Moxley thing. He made the decision he was going. So he's not even going to, it's not about the money. I need to be creatively fulfilled. But for Gallows and Anderson, it was like, I need to also think about my family and I've got to sign these contracts. And FTR said the same thing. You know, they got huge money, and like they turned down huge money offers from WWE to choose AEW, which was a difficult decision because they've also got families that need to be looked after. So I think you're right. It just varies from person to person.
Exactly. Agreed there.
Marcus Sol Campbell says, what do you think of the design of the new Knockout Tag Team titles?
You know what? I feel like I haven't really looked at them that good. I was like, I need to look at them a lot closer. So I'll give you an answer next week when I've actually paid closer attention to them.
And I would say as well, like they haven't immediately jumped out to me as horrible. So that's a good sign. It's not like, you know, I still think that the WWE tag team titles are the worst title designs probably in the history of humanity. Yeah. I think they're hideously ugly.
I'm not really like a belts person. Like I'm not the kind of person that really looks and like decides what's like a beautiful belt and not. Like I know people are really into belts. I never really was one of those persons though.
I didn't think I was either, but I think I've learned something about myself quite recently. Over the last few years, I've really learned something about myself, and it's through having a house with my wife, where she will ask me, "What do you want for this room?" And I will say, "I don't know. I've absolutely
that's
no
the
idea."
Worst answer, Luke.
It's a completely blank slate. Like we've just moved into a new house, right? Everything is white. We can't do anything for 18 months because the house is brand new. So we've got to wait till like the house kind of settles and stuff. But like we're kind of like, you know, she wants to make plans of what we want to do in each room and like this, that, and the other. And she'll ask me, and I'll be like, I don't know. I don't know what colors. I don't know what furniture. I don't know this, that, and the other. But if she shows me something, I can say I don't like that. Or she can show me something and I can say I do like that. So I can't tell you. So I don't know what I like and what I don't, but if I see something I like, I know I like it.
Look,
and I know I
let me rephrase this for you. So what you're saying is I have zero ideas and my wife has to do the work and give me the ideas, and then I'll decide whether or not I like it. Men, this is what my fiance does to me. I have to do all the work.
Hold the phone. I will counter argue this.
This is going to turn into a marital. I don't know what marital. I'm not even married yet.
I was going to say you're not even married yet.
We already have issues.
I'm going to defend my position on this. My wife loves it. She bloody loves looking at things. She loves looking at things and, you know, finding things out. Sure, she probably likes to do it together, but I'm not helpful until she shows me something. I can be like, I like or I don't like that. I don't understand art, but I know what I like.
See, here's the thing. Like, I think it also depends on the woman. Like me, I want my fiance to pitch ideas. And then I, at the end of the day, have the final say in everything. But
I did they go like, oh, women just want to make all the decisions.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I'm very, very picky. But you know, my pet peeve is when like trying to find something to eat. Like I feel every couple has this issue where you ask them like, what are you in the mood for? And they go, I don't know, you pick. It is the most annoying answer ever. Do you guys have that issue? Trying to decide what to eat?
Yeah, we kind of do. We also like with what films to watch, like of an
Yeah.
evening, or what TV shows to watch of an evening. But my wife is kind of like, she's like me with with trying to like pick stuff for the house. I'll be like, she'll be like, "What do you want to watch?" And my first response will be, "I don't know. What do you want to watch?" Because I know that it's easier for her to pick something, because otherwise I'm gonna name 50 things and she'll be like, "No, no, 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 not in the mood, not in the mood." It's just much easier. It just skips all that process if she just tells me what she wants to watch, because I'll more than likely also want to watch it.
It's such a drama, man. Like, I hate picking movies. I hate having to like try and find a movie to watch together. Try to pick a restaurant to watch together. I hate it. And I feel like the girl is always the one that ends up having to pick the movie, having to pick the place where we're eating. I hate making all the decisions all the time. And then that causes more drama.
It kind of works for us, because, like, do you know what? I will watch anything. If you put something on the TV, like I was raised on TV. You put something on the TV, I'm likely going to watch it.
Yeah.
If you pick a movie, I like movies, I'm going to watch it. My wife is like, she needs to be in a certain mood for certain things. Like, I'm not in the mood
Yes.
to watch a horror movie. I'm not in the mood to watch comedy. I'm not in the mood to watch a thriller. Whereas I'm like, cool, what day is it? I'll watch whatever it is.
Yeah, I feel like I'm more like your wife. I got to be in the mood for something, and it's got to like appeal to me.
My brother finds it hilarious. Like, she'll say certain things like, "Well, I can't watch that movie because it's a Tuesday," and that's not a Tuesday movie.
But it's a thing, though. It really
I know.
is a thing, though. Like, sometimes you're just
Yeah.
not in the mood. Like, you could be in the mood for it next week, but it ain't happening today.
Sometimes
just
it
happens
depends on
that
your
way.
mood. Marcus had a not follow-up question, but another question, which was, if you could guest star on any show, what show would it be, and what role would you play?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Good, right?
I
That's a good
feel like
question.
I have so many. Would it be a current show or an old show, though?
Marcus doesn't specify, because my first thought was that 70s show.
That 70s show for you?
Yeah, I feel like those always have like really fun cameos and things like that. And
What
like,
would you
particularly
be?
well, if it was an episode based around Star Wars, then I would want to be like a Star Wars fan. Like, if they'd have gone to like a Star Wars convention in 78, then I would have liked to have been part of that Star Wars convention. Like, I would have thought that'd have been quite fun.
That'd be kind of cool. Oh, that's good. Honestly, I don't, if I could have been like a guest star on any show, it probably would have been How I Met Your Mother, and I would have been one of Ted's crazy lovers. Like those girlfriends that just do not work out and is bat squat crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also like, for the first time, I'm watching New Girl at the moment. Like, my wife and I are watching it. I've never
Are
seen it
you into
before.
it?
I'm actually quite enjoying it. But it might just be because like Zoe Deschanel is like, it was like my dream girl for many, many years. Like,
Yeah,
I've got
she's
like
cute.
hard crushes on Zoe Deschanel. So like hard crushes. So maybe I'll be able to pick that show just so I can be a Zoe Deschanel boyfriend. Like that.
Oh
That's
my God.
oh, just crushing on her so hard all over again. Like, and I get it every year when I watch Elf as well. Like, when I rewatch Elf, I'm like,
Oh
oh,
yeah, I
Zoe
forgot she's
Deschanel.
in that.
Oh, and when she sings, like, her singing makes my heart flutter.
So do you have a
Like,
crush on Katy Perry too?
not Katy Perry, oddly.
Because they look
No,
alike.
they do look alike, but I think it's just maybe it's the bangs. Maybe it's the bangs that did it for me. I don't know.
Interesting.
I
Luke
and
likes
so-
bangs.
and if you
Now
also
we
like
know.
bangs, if you also like bangs, bluechew.com, use the code FIGHTFUL. I should have also said with that 70s.
I don't know why that hit me so slow. I was like, I heard it and I mentally laughed, and then I replayed it in my head, and then I laughed out loud. Oh God.
I should have said as well, for that 70 show, been a part of that wrestling episode, been like the commentary team. Like, me and Ollie could have been the commentary team during the wrestling episode. There you go.
There you go.
Weasley65. Hello, Luke, Denise, and any other WrestleTalk friends that may or not be on this podcast. New pledge hammer here. I was wondering, with the announcement that NHL moving to the USA Network and NXT most likely being moved to Tuesday or Thursday, I was wondering, what are the odds of getting the NXT review back? I know you and Ollie have said previously that it was losing the channel money because it was late, last again to go in the news and AEW shows, but with the move to Tuesday or Thursday, an NXT review wouldn't have to worry about that. Don't mean to harp on, it's just that NXT always seems to be forgotten about in the grand scheme of everything and is only remembered briefly during the ratings war segments. No, it's not actually the case, but I do appreciate the addition of NXT on the poll match, but it feels like it's forgotten about. Either way, continue to jam that jam. Good luck at the Rumble. It's the most wonderful time of the year. Looking forward to being a pledge hammer. Thank you very much for your question. So yeah, like we had to drop the NXT review because A, we were struggling to find the time to get it done, and B, like it was drawing in such little numbers. Because what we found is that there is a very vocal part of our fan base that wants the NXT reviews. But when we did them, no one was really watching them and or engaging with them. So we had to make the decision. And like, it's the 3 uploads a day, but YouTube's algorithm is constantly changing. And we have got an announcement about this next week, not specifically about the NXT reviews, but kind of like the way that we are looking to deal with the YouTube algorithm, because the YouTube algorithm is it's a nightmare to navigate, and the way that we're currently operating things isn't working. So we have got an announcement about that on Monday. So keep your eyes peeled for the Royal Rumble.
Thing you told me about, or another thing? It's the thing.
It's that, and it's another thing as well, which I'll also tell you in a little. Well, once we finish recording this. So yeah, so it's
is it the thing?
Is it the thing?
The thing.
So yeah, so we have got something, and that thing could maybe bring back the NXT review if it does move to a different day, but that might also cause its own problems as well. But we'll talk about that all next week when we when the thing does come into effect. Jobber JJ says, hello Team Danuke. As always this time of the year, I watch old Rumbles to try and get me excited for the upcoming match. My question is about John Cena. Whether you like him or not, you can't deny the match quality he had during Rumbles to WrestleMania. He was always involved in the match of the night. My question is, how do you rate his in-ring work, and does Cena get enough praise in the era he was in? Have a nice day. Jam that jam.
Not in the era that he was in. I was never a John Cena fan. I was always like that John Cena hater. I don't know why. That's just who I was back then. That was my identity. But now I have absolutely no problem with John Cena whatsoever. I feel like we appreciated him after he was gone.
100%, yeah. And I think I would wager something similar is going to happen with Charlotte Flair. Like, so I think Charlotte Flair at the moment gets a lot of people that, like, if she's on top, if she's on TV, people are dead against her and just like, oh, I'm sick of it being pushed down my throat, being overexposed, this, that, and the other. I reckon in 15 years' time, when Charlotte Flair isn't around as much, we will look back on Charlotte Flair and be like, dude, she was so great. Because she is amazing. Like, she is always having like the best work, like, doing the best matches, having the best work, doing great promos, this and the other. But I think she is probably going to be more appreciated after, in the same way that I think John Cena currently is.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I hope not. I feel like she deserves whatever praise she gets, she deserves it.
Oh yeah, totally. And I think like Cena is a guy that, yeah, I mean, I was like you. Like when Cena was on top, I was the Cena sucks guy. I was like,
yeah, me too, same.
It's like a visceral reaction. Like if he'd come out, like, boo, no, I don't want to see you, John Cena.
I think it wasn't that. I think, like, if I remember correctly, I was so upset because every single pay-per-view, every single main event, he would be the one to win. And like every single time I'd be like, oh, I'm rooting for the other person. Then they didn't win. I was like, oh, it's John Cena again. I remember just being like, oh, I don't care.
And that's because, like, in his first like run as well, it was booked in as like Christian and Jericho, and we were like, no, we want Jericho and Christian to be winning. Because and they just booked against Michaels. Like, we want Michaels to win. It's against, well, I want Triple H to win. So it was always like, yeah, you were right. You were kind of like always rooting for the other guy. That comes into effect in 2011 when with Money in the Bank, because we really wanted CM Punk to win. So, yeah, and I think that is kind of the thing for like Cena. It was never him. It was never his work. It was all the way that the company presented him, and kind of like I think fans resented a lot of that. So my biggest kind of example of this is Punk had that lengthy run, the 434-day run with the title, right? He wins the title and he's going on this thing, but he's never the guy. Like, he is the champion, and he's been champion for over a year, but he's never presented as the guy on the brand. John Cena versus John Laurinaitis is a much bigger program to WWE. And then CM Punk does all of this work, and all of it is done to build Rock versus Cena 2 at WrestleMania. Like, so CM Punk just drops the belt at the Royal Rumble so we can go on to do Rock versus Cena. And so that, as fans, were like, but we're into Punk and we want to see Punk do something at WrestleMania. And it just kind of felt like they never really cared what we thought. It was always about Cena's our guy, so Cena Rock 2 is going to be and in fairness, it's a business decision. It's going to draw more eyes than Rock versus than CM Punk versus someone. Certainly CM Punk versus Jericho.
Exactly. Yeah, I remember this one time I went to this live event and like my uncle, like I was little, he took me and my little cousin and then like he left to go buy us like something and like we didn't know what he was going to buy us, right? He came back and like I remember he got me the blow up John Cena hand, like the hand, and you would blow it up and you put it in your hand. I remember I was all pissed. I was like, why did I get the John Cena blow up? And then my little cousin, I think he got something else. I don't remember what his blow up was, but I was so pissed because I was stuck with the John Cena one, which ended up being pretty fun, actually. I don't have it anymore.
There was a moment that kind of like my mind kind of switched a little bit, which was when I was at a live event, and it wasn't Cena, it was Roman, and it was me and Ollie. We went to a live Raw taping. I think it was a Raw taping. It was definitely a Raw taping, but I can't remember if it was that or a house show. And Roman comes out, and obviously it's a UK crowd, heavy boos for Roman, because this is during that period of time when everyone was booing Roman, right? So
Yeah.
Roman's getting these massive amounts of boos, and like I almost felt like I didn't join in with it, but I almost felt like this got a reaction that I should be joining in with it.
Oh,
but
I
like,
joined in.
2 rows forward, and like right to the left, there's this little kid, and he's dressed head to toe in Roman Reigns like gear and cosplay and stuff, and he is going ballistic because his guy is here, right? Like his favorite wrestler is here. And I suddenly thought, like, oh yeah, that's why. Like that is why Roman's the top guy, right? Like that is why he's the champion, because that's. And I'm just, I'm 30 years old. This isn't fun.
Exactly. And it was like that for Cena too. Like I remember like I guess you can say the generic, not the generic fan, but the person that you would think was a John Cena fan. It was always the girls. And it was always like, I don't know about the little kids. The little kids and the girls were the ones that were like into him. And I remember thinking like, I ain't going to be that girl. I was always like the anti, like whatever like was the most popular person. I was always very different. Like whoever was the most popular person amongst the women, that was never my person. Like my person was always somebody else. I don't know how to explain.
Okay. So were you more AJ Lee than Bella's?
See, yeah, I would say so. Like, I was never really a big Bella's fan. Like, I know, like, all the girls, they like whoever was like the popular one with the girls, it was never for me. And it wasn't even just like I tried. No, it wasn't like I always had different taste.
Trevor from Ohio says, we all know that some performers in WWE will be there for life. If you could take one supposed WWE lifer and relocate them to another company, who are you moving and where are you moving them to? Personally, I'd love Seth Rollins to go to New Japan and be a big star over there. Best wishes always. Thanks for everything you do.
Wait, so we're just moving people around to like any promotion, or
well, specifically someone who is like a WWE lifer, and I think Trevor's example there of Seth Rollins is a really good one, because like Rollins is a company guy now. Like if Seth Rollins left WWE, it would be like a really shocking thing. Like Roman is a company guy, so like it is it's taking someone who is never leaving that company and moving them somewhere else.
I think in terms of shock value, Triple H and AEW would be crazy. I can't even picture it. To a lesser extent, Randy Orton.
Yeah.
Randy Orton moving anywhere would be pretty surprising. I don't know.
When there was those rumors that, I mean, I say it was rumors, that they basically all confirmed it, but like Randy Orton was negotiating with AEW when his contract was up, not last year, the year before, but he was doing it just so he could get a better deal from WWE because he's the smartest man in the room. But I remember at the time thinking like, man, Randy Orton and AEW, that would be so interesting because we haven't seen Randy Orton outside of WWE. Mm-hmm. So I think Randy Orton's a really, really great shout. Like him going over to AEW, doing some stuff over in New Japan, just seeing like what he would do. That would be different because I don't want to, I feel like he want to be stuck in a rut and just try something a bit fresh and different. Yeah, I think that'd be really interesting.
Cool. Then I'll stick with my Randy Orton pick.
That's the best answer. Reese Degnan says, I've been thinking about this prior to lockdown, but it seems to make less sense now they don't have fans in live attendance. Why WWE and AEW to a lesser extent still insisting on doing live shows? We've had it over the last few weeks, several noticeable mistakes that could have been avoided if stuff was filmed in advance, such as Lashley stomping on Rill's foot and missing it, the 6-person tag on this week's Raw. It would also, in theory, be safer for independent contractors, you're only bringing them in for 1 day of shooting and they would last for a month or so. Now they can pre-record stuff, splice it in, so why aren't they? Other than, I guess, the usual answer of it's how they've always done things. So I think for WWE in particular, it's a contract thing. They're only allowed to have a certain amount of pre-taped episodes per year, and the rest of them have to be live. And I think Vince was worried that USA Network were going to renege on their very, very expensive, lucrative contract, so they have to do it as a live show. I think that is certainly the case for WWE. I don't know why AEW are still doing like the 1 week on and 1 week off thing.
Does it turn you off when a show isn't live?
Not particularly. I don't particularly notice. Like with AEW, I don't notice if it's a taped show. I've never noticed it. Aside from like the crowd sounds a little bit sweeter because it's done in post. But I've never really been that bothered by it.
I don't know. I like to watch shows when they're live. When they're pre-recorded, like unless it's like a rare thing, like the Christmas episode for SmackDown, like that didn't bother me. But I just prefer to watch things live. I don't know why. I that's just like it.
Do you think it's like a fear of spoilers? Because like when they do shows here in the UK and like they pre-tape them here, like as soon as that show is finished, like or even as the show's going on, like the results are getting out before it airs out in the US.
No, I don't think it's that either because I'm really good at avoiding spoilers. Like I never see spoilers. Like if I see a spoiler, like it was a big time accident, but I'm really good at not seeing spoilers. I don't know what it is. I don't like to watch things all the time that aren't live.
Yeah, I mean, I totally
get it. Even like, let's say, for example, I don't know, let's just say an example that Royal Rumble is Sunday, right? And let's just say I couldn't watch live because whatever reason. And I feel like a lot of my excitement would be taken away if I had to watch it afterwards, like not live.
Yeah, I know. I get that. I think there's something sort of tangible and sort of exciting about watching live, particularly because there's a lot of people watching it live at the same time. And so in an age of social media where you kind of like can get engaged with people as you're watching it. Yeah, I get that. Because like if you're watching it 2 days later and you're just sort of tweeting out about it, you're just tweeting out to the void because like there's no one else is watching it at the same time that you are. So yeah, I get that.
And that's also different from being pre-recorded and watching live at the same time, but watching a pre-recorded show.
Oh, there's
different things, and I don't like either one of them. I don't know. They say people have weird like viewing habits. I guess that would be mine.
Kid Gaskin 98. Due to the fact that this Sunday is the Rumble, I've got a couple of questions. What are your top 5 Rumbles of all time, and what's your favorite non-Royal Rumble finish? So, I mean, my favorite Rumbles, 2001 is my favorite Rumble of all time. It's got Raven in it, doing hardcore stuff, and the Kane running wild, Drew Carey, the Honky Tonk Man. It is my favorite Royal Rumble of all time.
I was actually just rewatching that one like a few days ago.
So that moment when, like, the Drew Carey stuff is brilliant anyway.
You know what I was thinking? And I'll tell you this afterwards. To continue on, but remind me that I need to tell you something.
All right, so like the Drew Carey stuff is brilliant, right? And I love it, and it's so funny him trying to pay off Kane, and like the Hardy Boys eliminate themselves, and Drew Carey's just standing there, and then Kane comes out and is like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, and he just walks down, and you got all of that stuff, and it's just you think it can't get any funnier than this, and then the friggin' Honky Tonk Man comes out and he's like, got my long sideburns and my hair slicked back, coming to your town, doing a pink
and Kane doesn't give a damn.
And just doing the little head tilt thing, just looking at him. It's so good. And I've watched it so many times. I've watched that Rumble more than any Rumble ever. And I laugh every single time. And it's just extra punctuated by Jerry the King Lawler singing the Honky Tonk Man song. He's the Honky Tonk Man. It makes me laugh every single time. I love it.
He had some good like one-liner. He's always had like some good one-liner, especially when you go back and you listen to the shows. 2 things actually. So one of them, when I was rewatching that Rumble and Raven came out, I thought about you and I was like, I feel like Raven, like if I had to pick anybody, like if I didn't know he was your favorite wrestler, I would have never guessed Raven would be your favorite wrestler.
He looks like me. Well, at least he looked like me when I was in the 90s. And I think that's why I gravitate towards him, because that is how I was dressed. I mean, I say that's how I dressed in the 90s. That's how I dress now. I just don't have the long hair anymore.
I don't know what it was. I was just thinking about that. I was like, I guess I would have never imagined for him to be your favorite wrestler. Like if I didn't already know that. So for some reason I was thinking about that. And secondly, I think the other thing I wanted to add too is like, I didn't realize how popular Drew Carey was at that time because I was not really of age, I was really small. And like, So I didn't realize like how famous he was like really until like late, like years later when I found out like what kind of ratings his show was getting. It was pretty astonishing to like relearn, but I didn't like know about that, back then.
I loved the Drew Carey show.
I never
loved
seen it.
Oh, dude, I thought it was so, I used to love it. It's so funny. Really, really great. And I also loved him on Whose Line Is It Anyway? Like, as a Brit, I should really love the original version of it, but I actually kind of prefer the US version of Whose Line Is It Anyway? Because I used to love Whose Line. Dude, it's so good, man. I used to absolutely adore that show.
No, never saw it. Skip, pass.
So anyway, so yeah, 2001's my favorite Rumble. 2018's a great Rumble. 92 for obvious reasons. What are my favorite Rumbles? I mean, it's definitely like my top 3. I think the 2020 Rumble was awesome. And I think for my 5th one, just for like nostalgia's sake, I think I'm going to say 2000. Like 2000's not a great Rumble, but like the whole show itself is a great show to go back and rewatch because you've got the Dudley's Hardy's table match. You've got Cactus Jack and Triple H in the street fight. You've got the annual, and the names in it once, Miss Rumble bikini contest, which has got some great Jerry Lawler one-liners in there as well. It's a horrible segment of, with 2021 sort of hindsight. Yeah, so I think I'm going to go with that, although it's not my favorite Rumble match ever, and the finish is a bit balked. But Too Cool Dancing is very, very entertaining.
Yeah, always is. Oh man, I don't know. Like, I feel like for me, like I have a couple. I have to, I love what you've mentioned, but I also have to add just for like in terms of like what it meant. I would say like the first Women's Rumble, which was 2018. That one has to be on my list just because that one was the first one, and it was also like very exciting to like see like who was going to come out and be like the special surprises. I like that. What year did Triple H win? That was one of my favorites too.
The 2002.
Yeah, when he eliminated Angle. That one was one of my favorites. When Benoit won.
The Mr. Perfect return in that 2002 Rumble is awesome as well.
And then I would say that those are probably some of my favorites, but I have to like still like I feel like I haven't decided on like a full list of like what my favorites are. I think I have more in terms of like favorite moments. I think that's what it is, where like I'll go back and I'll think about a Rumble, but I'll think mainly about the moment versus the entire Rumble as a whole. So I feel like if I go back, I might be like, well, you know what? Maybe I don't feel that strongly about this Rumble anymore.
Yeah, that's exactly with the 2000 Rumble. And I was like, what I was talking about in the Actually Good video, which is I think that even if a Rumble's not great, they've all got those moments, which is why like the Rumble match kind of like, it feels like it's the best match of the year every year because it will always have 1 or 2 moments where you're like, yeah, that was awesome. And that makes the Rumble awesome. Even if the Rumble itself is not awesome, that moment was so good that it makes the Rumble feel awesome.
Which was the one where Maven eliminated the Undertaker?
That's also 2002. I mean, 2002 is a great Rumble. I
remember like moments.
Yeah, Taker's selling of that elimination is so great as well, and then he just beats up poor old Maven. And the other part of that is, what is your favorite non-Royal Rumble match? So for me, it's either the Triple H Cactus Jack street fight because that match is stellar, it's so good, or the triple threat, the Seth Rollins, John Cena, Brock Lesnar triple threat is dang good. Like that is a great match.
I agree with you on your first pick, and then I have to add, since we were talking about Cena AJ was pretty good too. That would probably be one of the best ones, I think. Besides the Cactus Jack Triple H.
And Kid Gaskin lastly adds, what are my thoughts on the Godzilla vs. Kong trailer? Have you seen it?
No.
Are you not a Godzilla
fan? I have
fan?
zero interest in Godzilla, King Kong. I'm not into that.
Denise, I mean, I was showing this off yesterday, but I got this from the Godzilla store when I was out in Japan.
Oh, nice. So cute.
It is very cute. I've had this now for over a year because I bought this in the Godzilla store while I was out in Tokyo, but I haven't decided on where I'm putting it. So it's just been
on your computer.
Well, I know, but I don't want to make that because I've only got one of them. And like, I'm not going back to Tokyo anytime soon. It's a very important decision for me, Denise, where it's going. At the moment, it's likely going to go on my Mac here, but I just haven't committed to it yet.
Put it somewhere that with something that you're actually going to keep for a very long time and you're not going to replace.
Well, that's what I mean, Denise. That's such a difficult
question.
Phone? Oh, my phone, I'll replace that in 2 years' time. Like my phone's, I don't hold on to phones for very long. As soon as the option comes up to get rid of it, I'm getting a new version.
Your laptop's really the only place, unless you put it on your refrigerator.
I'll put it on my wife. I'm keeping her.
I know. There you go. It's in there forever.
Jonathan Hedman, good appropriate time of the day, Team Danuke. Hope you're excited for the Rumble this weekend. I've got 2 friends takes. Let's all pretend the friends were diehard wrestling fans. If you had to replace a member of WrestleTalk with a friend, who would you swap? Also, here's my hot take. I think real world Gunther would be the best friend.
Oh, Gunther. I'd swap me with Ross.
What were you swapping yourself for?
I'm swapping myself. And I'm putting Ross in.
All right, I was swapping you for Rachel. If I'm swapping you out, no. I would
benefit from me being swapped out. You're going to be suffering. I'm going to put you with Ross. I'm not going to swap myself out for Rachel. Although you can choose to have me swapped out for Rachel.
Yeah, or I'll swap myself out for Rachel. We'll have Ross and Rachel do this show together. I'm sure that'd be a great time.
But then afterwards, you don't get to enjoy the presence of Rachel.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about sort of like hardcore crushes, like Jennifer Aniston, man, like that. My 90s crush was Aniston.
I thought Monica was prettier.
Oh,
I know it's something that's like not. She's like everyone thinks like it's always Rachel. She's so hot, Rachel. I actually thought that I thought Monica was the one that like if I had the option of like, hey Denise, tomorrow you're gonna wake up as either Rachel or Monica. Like who do you want to wake up as? I would have picked Monica. I wonder if it's gorgeous, and I feel like not enough people talk about that.
If we're going back to the Zooey Deschanel thing, maybe it's just the hair. Maybe it's just like it was the Rachel hair. Because there were some like when she had that bob cut, I remember saying to my wife, we were watching it recently, I was like, this is not Rachel's best look.
No, her best look was when she had the straight hair, and she didn't even have it for that long. It was very brief when she had like the straight hair, and it was like perfectly like aligned on her face. That was the best Rachel.
Yeah, so I'm either picking out Rachel or I'm going to pick. I don't know. I feel like Chandler is someone I would probably get on with quite a bit. So I'd pick Chandler.
So who'd you replace Ollie with Chandler?
No, do you know what? I'm going to replace like Laurie's sarcastic. So like I don't want too many sarcastic people. So I'm going to replace Laurie with Chandler.
Nice.
And I'm replacing Ollie with Jennifer Aniston. And lastly, Jack Strang says, can't remember if this question's been asked before, but here we go. What was the first pay-per-view you saw live? Was it any good? What impact did it have on you? For me, I got lucky. It was Money in the Bank 2011. For some reason, it was free on Sky Sports. I can explain why. And even though I was 11 at the time, it was a show that confirmed my love for wrestling as I developed a better understanding of it. The reason why it was free on Sky Sports is because the deal between Sky Sports and WWE was that some of the shows were just free. So I think there was like 4 or 5 shows a year that we just got, I guess, because Sky Sports is something you have to pay for already, and then you have to pay the pay-per-view price on top of that. So there was like 15 quid to get a pay-per-view. There was like 5 pay-per-views a year that were just free. So yeah, nice. And 2011 was one of those. And actually mine was a free pay-per-view as well. When they signed the deal with Channel 4 in 2000, we got Heat every single week on Channel 4, and we also got 4 pay-per-views a year are free. They were just free to air on terrestrial TV. And one of those was Backlash 2000. And that was the first pay-per-view I ever stayed up live to watch. I stayed up till 1 a.m. So I
thought you meant live in person. You went to live.
Well, Jack says that because he talked about how Money in the Bank was free on Sky Sports. So I think he just means like live. I mean, because I've never been to a pay-per-view live. I've never been to like I've been to Raw shows live, and I
okay.
Myself, but I've never actually been to a pay-per-view live. But well, actually, I'll get both of those answers from you. So yeah, for me, it's Backlash 2000, and it was a great show, and I loved it, and I loved everything about it, and I loved that show watching it back, and that main event of Rock Triple H with the Austin return. And like I remember just being so excited when Austin comes out and like throwing my middle fingers up in the air for Austin. And oh, dude, it was so cool.
I feel terrible. I don't remember my first pay-per-view that I watched live in person and the one that I watched live at home.
You don't remember either?
No. Like I remember so many pay-per-views because I went to so many shows. Like as a kid, I would go to every single show that was either in the LA or Orange County area. So I got to go to a lot. but I don't remember the very first one though. Because I know my first event was actually my first live WWE event was Raw, and it was the night after Jericho won the Undisputed titles. So that was my first official Raw, but I don't remember my first pay-per-view, but it had to be in 2001. Because if that was my first, or
2002.
No,
because
because it'd be the top.
Because he went at the end of 01. So yeah, so it'd have been 2002. Would have been like
But
after that.
But I have all my ticket stubs, so I can go back and look. So I'll go back and look and put them in order, or try to put them in order.
Well, that's a good tease to come back next week and find out what was Denise Salcedo's first show, which we think was in 2002.
Oh, I'm going to come back with some facts next week. Next week, I will have facts. I will have I don't know. I'll have some facts.
But that is all we've got time for on this edition of the show. Thank you so much for watching. Please do click the videos that have appeared on screen right now, or this button here that'll take you over to Instant Culture, where you can go watch Denise's great video with Peyton Royce. Don't just go and check her out on Twitter. I'm doing it again. Just go follow them on Twitter. Denise Salcedo in particular.
What are you talking about? I'm just here begging.
I know. I'm sorry, dude. I'm falling
You're
apart.
like, don't follow them on Twitter. I'm like, who's them?
No, I do follow them on Twitter. Follow Denise, follow Peyton Royce, follow everyone. Thank you all so much for watching. I've been Luke Code. This has been Denise Salcedo, and that was wrestling.